the Board of Commissioners affirmed the existence of the Health Board in a resolution 2016-030. Attached is a copy of your current bylaws that you still operate under, which are the bylaws of 1988. You also will have a copy of the resolution in this, along with the addendum that goes along with that resolution. It's actually called an appendix. So one of the things that the county attorney pointed out was in Appendix A of Resolution 2016-030, the Board of Commissioners included a list of responsibilities as guidance to the Board of Health. And there are 6 main responsibilities that the Board of Health has. Number 1, to authorize and recommend to the County Board of Commissioners necessary regulations, policies, and ordinances for the Health Department. Number 2, establish necessary policies for the effective and efficient delivery of county public health services. Number 3, when appropriate, adopt necessary resolutions setting forth the position of the Board of Health on public matters in Lenawee County. Number 4, provide a citizen comment on policies and programs of the Health Department. Number 5, concerning the administration of the Health Department policies and programs, all directives of the Board of Health shall be, after a majority of vote of said board at a regular or special meeting, presented to the health officer for implementation. And number 6, individual members of the Board of Health shall refrain from giving orders to any employee. Any inquiry into the department operations shall be directed to the health officer. Now he indicates that in his opinion, the bylaws are severely outdated and need to be updated immediately. As a result, he did research Washtenaw County's bylaws, and those are actually also included in this document. If you go back to the second to last page, so basically under number 1, he's suggesting that the bylaws be updated, and we'll go into that in a minute. The second question I asked was, could you indicate the health officer's responsibility to the health board? And he indicates that as per Resolution 2016-030, the Board of Commissioners, under the Appendix A, states that the administration of the Health Department policies and programs, all directives of the Board of Health shall be, after a majority vote of said board at a regular or special meeting, be presented to the health officer for implementation. Now this is a repeat of a statement he made a few minutes ago, but in essence says the health officer is responsible for implementing the policies and programs adopted by the Board of Health. He indicated that based on researching health boards in other counties, that it is his opinion that the health officer should also be an advisor to the health board, which I don't think is any surprise to any of us. So question number 3, could you indicate who the health officer works for? This goes a little bit more to Mr. Fry's question. Again, he says the Board of Commissioners is the governing entity with the power to create or abolish a health board. The Board of Commissioners has granted some power to the health board as noted above. However, they have not been granted all authority. They have not been granted supervisory power to the health board for a health officer. The health officer is appointed by and works for the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners has delegated some of their authority to the county administrator, including supervisory power over non-elected department heads. The health officer is an appointed position and is a department head. Therefore, in my opinion, the health officer works for the county administrator. The 4th question I asked is, could you indicate who has responsibility of hiring and firing of the health officer? Because I think that was also a question that had come up. Again, he indicates that the Board of Commissioners is the governing entity with power to create or abolish a health board. Basically, it says the Board of Commissioners has granted some power to the health board as noted above. However, they have not granted all authority, which he previously stated, indicating most specifically, they have not granted the power to hire or fire the health officer. The Board of Commissioners even pointed out specifically that members of the Board of Health shall refrain from giving orders to any employee. Any inquiry into the department operations shall be directed to the health officer. And he completes by saying the power to hire and fire the health officer remains with the Board of Commissioners.
The only question I have is, how did we for 20 years prior to, oh, we ought to talk about Martha, we did the recommendations to Board of Commissioners, who then officially hired. And then Pennington actually reviewed the health officer. And you did too, didn't you?
I never have.
You were supposed to.
Oh.
After you followed Pennington, didn't you? Because I remember Howard having meetings with, I think it was Patsy at that time. Anyhow, how did we do that for so many years?
Well, I wasn't here during that time, so I really cannot answer how you did what you did. But when asked what are the rules and what are the laws and how should the health department be, or health department board be conducting its business as it relates to the health department and to the health officer, these are the answers to the questions. I can probably say that in the past, maybe it just didn't come out. It was something that we've always done it this way, so we're gonna keep doing it this way. And so now that it's been questioned, we're bringing forth what the reality of the situation is based on the health code, the bylaws, and the resolution passed by the Board of Commissioners. I will indicate that probably about 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, somewhere in there, the Board of Commissioners did move some authority that they had to the county administrator. I don't remember the exact date when that happened, but there were some powers that were moved.
Since I take yours, I was there with it.
Okay.
I would say that when that occurred, it occurred with this board, and it was obvious that it had occurred. Because Martha at that point became, it was that relationship between the county administrator and Martha.
Okay.
And again, I couldn't tell you the number of years, but you put your finger on when it occurred.
Yeah, so Mr. Fry, maybe that's when everything changed. I'm not exactly sure.
Wasn't there a time when, it's a little foggy back here. Wasn't there a time when the county commissioners were trying, or the county administrator at that time, which I think was probably Marty, I don't think it was Bill, was trying to emulate a central manager type thing?
So it was.
That happened when I became chairman. Mr. Marshall also became county administrator, and the sole purpose of the county commission was to modernize the way we did business by having a stronger administrative role, somebody that was there to manage department heads, and that's just went hand in hand in my mind with the way I did business here.
So that's about the time that you think that Pennington's protocol, Pennington's past performance, or Pennington's past policies changed?
Yes.
I do recall, at least in my mind, I recall that at that given point, Mr. Fry was aware of it and you didn't like it. And I remember, and I may or may not be in the minutes, that you said if you no longer had the responsibility that you thought you had, that you might very well leave the board.
That's true. And that goes to the other purpose. Why do we even meet? We can't approve accounts payable, we can't approve, make changes. That's still a valid question. But thank you for reminding me that, but you're absolutely correct.
I think, as we talked about then, John, that the health board is kind of the liaison, so to speak, between the public and the health department. And I think our role in reviewing what's going on is important. And even though the way we do business in the county has changed somewhat, I still think we have an important role, just as every committee does. Public participation is very important in government.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying,
I know.
and I don't disagree with what Leanne said. Because it's true, and I think there were maybe at that time some other members of the board that might have said the same thing.
I think you were, I know you.
I know I did. We've got somebody coming. Oh. So anyhow, thank you.
So, I just want to indicate that, that is his review and opinion, and, it may be something of interest to the health board to take a look at its current bylaws and work on getting them updated. I don't know if the health officer, I'm sure would want to be intimately involved, or if you would want to have a person or two from the health board also sit on a smaller committee to maybe draft up these, the new bylaws to present to our county attorney to have them reviewed. But it may be something you want to consider since you're operating under bylaws from 1988, which are apparently very outdated.
Well, we certainly can think about that. I don't want to make a decision today. I'm not.
I think, as we've talked, we'd like to have modern, or at least bylaws that apply to our roles, which we don't have, so to speak.
And what's not included here, because it wasn't a specific question, but it was included in a conversation that I had with him, and I wanted to make sure I conveyed that too, is I had previously been sent a copy of the bylaws, not exactly sure what you call them, the rules for your meetings, and then there was another document. I think there was 3 documents, I don't remember what they were called. He indicated that it would be very helpful if you looked at all of those documents and condensed them into 1 or at the most 2 documents, so that we didn't have several documents to refer to depending on what the action was that you were trying to take on.
I think part of the information was in the accreditation manuals that we did, was shaking your head like.
Plan of organization.
All that's where all that was in the.
Dr. Trent, do you remember when you came on the board, I gave you those 3 documents to review? Do you remember?
I asked her for the bylaws, so I could see what I was getting into.
And was it Martha or Patsy at the time?
That was Patsy.
Yeah, she had a hard time coming up with them, I know that. So I wanted a document that was more readily accessible to the public as well as the health board.
Well, it makes sense to condense it if you could into, I would believe, a single document. You run the risk if you have multiple documents of one contradicting the other.
Which is where we're at now.
Exactly.
So I would like to see a subcommittee formed to review the documents and discuss new bylaws, which I would hope would include our health officer. Do we have any volunteers?
Can I do it from Dublin?
Huh?
It's gonna be real soon. Can I do it from Dublin?
Yes. There you go.
I don't think I should be on it, because as a commissioner, I may be voting on what will be coming down the line.
Okay.
I'd love to be on it, but you have to understand, I can't see it all, okay? I think if you talk to me and we put it here, you know, my brain works, there's nothing wrong with my brain. But if you're short people, but on the other hand, whether I could get into town or not, but, I mean, he's gone, but on the other hand, it's been since 1988. So I don't know that you gotta do it by next month.
But Dr. Trent said she'd like to be on it. Do I have another volunteer? Who?
You.
Chairman on it.
The chairman on it, then just forget me and then there, yeah, that'll work.
Well, I would personally like one of our more experienced, longer time board members.
That's me. I'm the oldest.
Or Leanne.
I'm even older than she.
Yeah, I
He's a
know.
little older than
Jen wants to do it, that's fine. If you can work it out on her schedule, if not, Dr. Tritt and I can do it. Pardon? Yeah. Mhm. Just think, you get $40 extra for that meeting. I want you to be,
I'm not too worried about that, John.
I see.
Does that sound good, Leanne?
Yes.
You and Dr. Tritt, and then if you can't, then I will do that.
You require a motion.
Yeah, I would like a motion.
I'm so moved.
Do we have support?
Support.
All in favor of the creation of that subcommittee of the health board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Question. This is an ad hoc committee, I understand. This won't be an ongoing committee.
No. Just for the sole purpose of rewriting our bylaws, rules, whatever you wanna, you guys come up with calling it. Is there any other business under old business?
Administrator Murphy, did